Oh, we're on air. That caught me unawares. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Choosing Beyond with myself, Alan Jones, and the awesome and gorgeously amazing Keisha. There's Keisha.
I'm choosing that.
Absolutely. So, for anyone watching, the Q&A is active, so you can ask us any questions you like about anything you desire. It could be about what we're talking about, which is what the dickens is choice, or it can be anything else, and we'll just play with it and see where we go with it. So if I get distracted, bear with me, because I'm trying to do the Q&A and talk at the same time, and just to buy into that old belief, men can't multitask, which is actually a load of nonsense, but I'm going to use that as my excuse for getting distracted. It's a good excuse.
It totally works.
It totally works. So, Keisha, what the dickens is choice? What the dickens is choice?
What the dickens?
What the dickens? What the dickens is choice?
Well, my dear Alan, that's a fabulous question.
And I don't know.
As I've been playing, I have actually been playing with that question, since that is, the topic of our discussion today. And it's like, what is the question or what is the conversation around choice that I've never chosen? And like, we have all these little snippets for what choice is, and you can define it pretty much, I think, any way you want to, depending on where you are in that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And choice seems to elude us still. And so, like, is choice a mystery? Is it something we do? Is it something we get? Is it something we make? Does it require anything physical? And I kind of get a no on that, because choice is like before. It's sort of like when we're still in that energetic aspect of existence. I don't know if I'm using my human words very well. So, and then I go to that question: is it significant that we actually define choice, or do we be with the question of what is choice?
Sorry, I'm just writing stuff down as it's jumping into my head.
Oh, no, I appreciate that.
Cool. So it's the first thing that came into my head as you were saying that is, and it might be a slight tangent. It's like, where have we decided that questions come before choice? I need to ask what my choices are before I can choose.
Right.
And what if that's, to use an English phrase, what if that's arse about face? The cart before the horse.
Great question.
Yeah. So what do you know? What's your awareness around question and choice?
Are they, what is that word? Well, simultaneous could be one word, but like they become each other. Like I see a visual of the Tao symbol.
It's almost like intrinsic. They're intrinsic with each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I've never thought about it. And I really, how you cognitively understand things around choice. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, has said, well, forever, I think, probably, choice creates awareness, choice creates awareness. And just as I was tapping into that energy, okay, so what is choice? Does awareness come first, or does choice come first? And we are taught in this reality that you have to have the awareness of what stuff is before you can choose it. And what if that's not true?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, we choose to come here.
Yeah.
And I think I have many times gotten really lost in all of that. You have to have reasons and justifications to make the choice. Kind of like what you were saying, you have to ask all these questions before you make the choice.
Yeah.
When and we say this a number of times. For those of you who haven't joined us before, Alan and I both actually host radio shows. Alan is a co-host with the amazing Tamara Yonker, and I have, we both are on the A2Zen.fm network. And so often you'll hear us talk about, oh, and the energy is just changing so fast. Holy moly. Okay, so there went a squirrel. Help me, Alan. What was I saying? Oh my God, what am I choosing? We choose to come here, and we go through that. We kind of we've bought into this belief, I think, many of us, at least for much of our lives or a part of our lives, that in order, we have to justify making a choice. And yet, this is what we say a lot. We make choices billions of times a day. You and I both talk about that. We hear a lot of people talk about that. And it's like, we know that. And at the same time, we're not choosing to consciously be making the choices.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference in what becomes possible when we're consciously making the choices versus sort of making those default choices, just sort of letting the autopilot run.
It's unconsciously choosing, you know, what if what we're here to get is to move and shift from unconsciously choosing to consciously choosing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, we create these amazing bodies that are capable of the most amazing things and fun and joy and yumminess. And it's almost like we have this beautiful laboratory, you know, and then of course the space of our entire environment of the planet is a playground, or can be, if we're willing to choose that. And it's like, it almost seems like we're designed. It's like part of the fun of this is to see what our choices create, because we can reach out and touch something, or we can make a statement, or we can build something, or we can energetically move, you know, and transmit and shift and transmute and all of that and transform. And yet we don't play with it. We like won't let ourselves have that. So what is that part of choice that we're really not acknowledging, I wonder?
I mean, as you're talking, again, I'm tapping into the energy. And I was asking in my head as I was listening to you with, you know, around the whole thing around choice. So what do we know about choice that nobody else knows? And so, you know, with that choosing, you know, choosing really is almost, for me, would I hesitate to say? No, I'm just going to boldly say it. What if choice is our greatest superpower ever?
I like that.
Yeah, and what if everything is a choice? Everything is a choice. How you choose to create your life, you know, because the thing with most people with choices and choosing is that they function from this, as you said, a lot of it is autopilot choosing, you know, oh, well, you know, so for example, you get up in the morning, how do you shower? How do you brush your teeth? What's your morning routine? So you're choosing this routine, and you're unconsciously choosing the things that you do each morning. How present are you when you shower, when you brush your teeth, when you go to the loo for the first time? Whatever it is that's your morning routine, how consciously and present are you being in those moments? And what have we decided is so dangerous, unsafe, whatever, for whatever reason, to choose to be present with every choice that we make?
Yeah.
What would happen? What have we decided would happen that we just have decided cannot happen if we were to allow ourselves to be aware of the magnitude of choices and possibilities that are available to us?
There's a lot of energy around that.
Yeah, isn't there?
Wow. Well, and that brings up something that we often hear Gary talk about. And for those of you who may not be aware, the Gary Douglas that we're referring to is the founder of Access Consciousness. You can find out a lot about Access Consciousness by simply visiting accessconsciousness.com. One of the things I love, when I really kind of started to get this, it drastically shifted things for me. And of course, I only heard him say this about 500 times, I think, or so, before I really started to go, oh.
I get it now.
Choice trumps everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of modalities, many of which I have participated in myself, there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of processing. There's not a great deal of choosing.
No.
And one of, I think, the most misunderstood or the most frequently missed applications or possibilities of access, the modality of access consciousness, and I refer to it as a modality because I really don't have a better way of describing it in human terms in this moment, is one of the things I believe is most often missed, and I was in this boat a long time, is that very thing, that choice trumps all. Yeah. You can talk about it, you can process it, you can need to go look at it, you can take however many years you need to go look at it, and until you actually choose with regard to whatever that is, nothing, there's a very limited scope of possibility that you can play with.
I mean, to give you, yeah, absolutely. And that's, for me, I love using the analogy of the gardener. You know, you can process. So for me, like, processing is often like weeding your garden. I can keep pulling the weeds out my garden and keep removing the weeds from my garden and keep removing the things I don't desire in my garden. And unless and until I start to choose to put other stuff in its place, those weeds are going to keep appearing, or it's never going to be quite the way I would like it to be. I end up with an empty garden because at some point I'm judging everything as not actually wanting to be in my garden. And, you know, and so it is a bit like, you know, often for me, clearing is one of those things that helps you clear away the crap so that you can see the wood for the trees, so actually you can get an awareness of what choices kind of is and what's possible for you. And I can clear all my points of view about choosing, about having money, and I can clear all my points of view about having money, and then I have to choose it. I got to choose to have it. You know, it's like I can clear all my points of view about winning the lottery, and then I can go and buy a ticket.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. It's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just like, you know, you can't win the lottery unless you buy a ticket. No matter how much clearing you do about, you know, oh, well, you know, no matter what I do, whenever I seem to kind of whatever, no matter how much I process, I never win the lottery. Well, have you got off your arse and bought a ticket? No.
Oh.
You know, I can hear all my points of view about having a boyfriend or a girlfriend or, you know, a significant lover, or whatever you want to call it. And if you don't get off your butt to go and move out your house, how are you going to meet anybody?
Yeah. Or at least turn the computer on and the internet services, you know.
Because choice isn't passive. It's not passive.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I think, and to say that choice is an action doesn't quite resonate, but choice requires action. It's just, we get it kind of tangled up with some physical action. And actually you can choose to take physical action, just like what you were talking about. And the act of choice, or the act of choosing, is where we kind of get ourselves, you know. There's two things. Yeah, what you were saying, like the image, the sort of energetic image that I was getting was like, we want to like do all of this clearing, and I've done this myself many times, and it's almost like this. A lot of people seem to have this interesting point of view that if I clear all this stuff out of the way, that like something's just going to float in, you know. And as you said, choice is not passive unless you are passively allowing others to choose for you, which is a choice. And many of us do that, at least for some part of our lives, and or in some areas of our lives. And that's one of the fascinating parts that I'm getting more clarity around for me at this point is it's keep choosing. It's like being being present with your possibilities. You are choosing, or at least you have the possibilities of choosing everything. And question is what brings up the possibilities into your awareness. And then choice is the next step, or not, if you're not choosing to take that. But choice is then available to you. And it's simply kind of, I want to say depends. That's an interesting word. It sort of lands interestingly, but then it depends, or it's relative. That's really the word that sits better for me. It's really relative to what you choose. And it's also relative to what you bring into your choice or into your choosing. So if you're choosing from that conclusion, and I've done this a lot, like, oh, well, if I choose this, it'll get me X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting game to play because it so often can go like in a completely different direction, 90 degrees, to the left or the right. And I think that's where we do something that keeps that out of it. It keeps it a secret from us. So is there a secret about choice? Or is there a secret invention that we've made about choice and choosing that we're letting stop us, that we're using to stop ourselves, perhaps, or to keep ourselves sort of anesthetized to the choosing?
That reminds me of the access, what secret agenda am I using to create the limited choice I am choosing?
Yeah.
And everything that is just for everyone,
Wow.
let's just let go of all of that now, just destroy and uncreate it all.
Yes, please. That's really interesting how much energy is around that. So all of this to keep ourselves from not choosing thing, that whole topic is really juicy.
So yeah. So what have we decided is so bad about having limitless choice? And that for me is a real awareness of you can't be trusted to choose what's good for you. You don't know enough. And that for me, I'm so aware how expanding, no, not expanding, about how extensive and far-reaching that conclusion and lie is.
Oh my gosh.
You cannot be trusted to have limitless choice. So it's better if you don't.
So I just had this kind of like, wow. Okay. So the images that came up were like, we choose to embody. We then go in through the school system to get to, and then we get to adulthood, or at least we're in bigger bodies. Some of us aren't in adulthood quite yet. And the sense I was like, the energy of that was this really interesting, really apparently quite popular point of view that there are lots of things required before you can even make a choice because of what you're talking about. This limitless choice would be so reckless, out of control, dangerous kind of thing. And it's like, I look at how much of the structured trend is in our cultures, in our societies, around who do we give the most merit? Like we tend to, as a society, the general public, if you will, there's a lot of weight given to things that are said and chosen by people who have degrees and people who are presidents and CEOs and have important positions, as though the choices they've made have demonstrated that they're more capable of making good choices. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Like, and we buy into that. And I will not begrudge anyone their choice to get a degree and become anything. It's not about criticizing people for choosing that. It's more of this sort of passive submission to people who have chosen that, and we give up our choice due to that point of view. There's more there, but how does that land for you?
I mean, that for me doesn't feel wonky. And, and I think we gave up our right to, no, we didn't give up our right. We decided, or we chose to relinquish our awareness of the infinite choices and possibilities available to us because we bought a lie that we couldn't be trusted with it.
Yeah.
So other people, we've decided, have more ability for that and capacity for knowing what's best for us. And the people who, or the beings, whatever you want to call them, who gave us that point of view it's about control. It is all about control.
Yeah. I was just getting, that kind of energy of when we're youngsters, babies, toddlers, elementary school, other people are making our choices for us all the time. They're choosing what we're eating. They're choosing what we're wearing. They're choosing where we're going. They're choosing when we go to the bathroom in many cases. They're choosing everything because we're like along for the ride for the most part in many people's point of view. And it's like, what if given that, it's very easy to be under the impression that that's how it's supposed to be. And what if, children who are called reckless because they choose to go play in the mud or go do things that involve getting something dirty or messing something up or getting themselves dirty or breaking things, those choices get them oftentimes in trouble, what we call trouble, or have negative consequences. And that seems to doubly reinforce this kind of construct that, oh, well, you shouldn't make certain choices. You're not allowed to make certain choices. When those children, I mean, I can remember I would make mud pies and smear mud all over my legs and run around just because I loved the way it felt to have earth on my body. And I loved making mud and I loved getting messy. And, hey, darling. And thankfully, I was around grownups who allowed me the space to do that. Now, I didn't really get to go in the house until I had, gotten the water hose and gotten cleaned up. But it was amazing. And I didn't realize that there are a lot of children who don't get to have that.
No.
And that's a major place where we begin to play with our choices.
It is. And that's, it's almost like that's possibly one of the reasons why we choose the parents that we choose, because we know that they're the ones who can control us and our choices and remind us that we shouldn't have choice. It's like that's part of the choice that we make about who we choose. Yeah. It's not about expanding our life. It's about being controlled. Because if we're an infinite being, if we are out of control, then we are dangerous to other people. We are a risk. There was a radio show recently which is all about, being a risk. I wonder who's talking about that. And, what if having infinite choice is the ultimate superpower that we have, and the only way to limit that is by buying into this whole control system? Because let's face it, we even chose to be controlled by that. Because I was thinking about this recently, about some of the abuse that I went through as a child, and thinking, I could have chosen to hit my mother back. I could. I was bigger than her. I could have chosen to run away from home. I could have chosen not to wear the clothes that she tried to force me into. But it's like, I knew then that I could have chosen that. And for some reason, I didn't. And I'm not making myself wrong for choosing to receive that and experience it. It's like, okay, wow. Did I have an awareness that something horrible would have happened? Well, actually, no, I don't think it would have been. But I decided that it was too terrifying to step out, or, no, that's just nonsense. I chose to be there for a reason. Because I knew that was the way of controlling me. The only way to control me was to go to a family that I thought could control me, so I could buy into that lie.
Wow. so where that took me to was around our knowing. And that goes along with what you're talking about, the awareness, our awareness. And wow, it's like, it's almost like I get a sense of like this, there's this game we're playing as the infinite being we be. And it's like, there's almost a sense of like we challenge ourselves to see how much we can go through before we choose to try to forget our infiniteness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there's this really interesting energy around like, oh, busted. Like we have all of these horrible things that go on and that we choose to create and that we choose to be a part of in some cases. Some of us don't, and it just depends on which lifetime we're playing with. And as you were talking, it's like I had this sense of how we do go through some very interesting experiences. We actually do co-create some very interesting experiences with our parents, with our siblings, in other relationships. And it's not to excuse any of that. It's not to say that we could just be totally mean, cruel, and disrespectful to each other, and that's perfectly fine. It's more about the energy underneath that I was getting of choosing, like really, like how far will we go before we choose to remember or we choose to acknowledge?
Okay.
We can change that in a blink of an eye.
So this is something I was going to ask earlier on. What if now we just take a minute and universe, show us right here, right now, the magnificence, just show us what real choice is. Just take us into that energy right here, right now.
Wow.
In totality. The beyond the beyonds of choice.
That is huge.
And just, yeah, so as we, so what if we stay in that energy for the rest of this hangout, this last kind of half an hour that we're going to be here? So if we let's just allow that energy, that awareness, that space, that expansiveness to permeate every single molecule of our being. So everyone who's watching, now or in the future, we just invite you to be the space of true choice.
Infinite choice.
Infinite choice. There it is. Boom. And so from this space, just from that space, just be in it, because it may feel scary. It may feel uncomfortable. And what if that's not scary? What if that is just excitement?
Yeah. And what would it take to be willing to choose beyond any choice we've ever made so far?
Mm.
Even more of the infiniteness, even more of the completely out of what this structured existence defines as acceptable or normal or important.
Because let me ask you this, have you ever really been controlled?
No.
It's like everything we've chosen, everything.
I have chosen to put myself in situations where it was very uncomfortable and there were people who were unkind. And in some of those cases, there was physical restraint, there was physical injury, there was physical conflict. And as I be with the energy of that choice, those choices, yeah, there is the awareness of it did not, regardless of what it looked like in those moments, it did not absolutely control me, other than what I was allowing of my choice that I was giving up for those however many moments or however many days or weeks or years. And So that kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier, when it's that, are we playing this really beautiful adventure, or having this really beautiful adventure that we're creating, to just almost like, how aware do we desire to be that we have infinite choice, and that choices create?
And how much have we given that up? So how much have we given up our choice because we know it's a threat to those people who would like to control us, who have also bought the belief that if they don't control someone, then they have no choice. The only way to have true choice is to control everyone and everything. So how much have we given up our choice in order to try and be kind to them, so that we don't invalidate their reality, to give up our choice to them because we've decided that if we give up our choice, then we won't be a threat to them, they won't try and hurt us. I'm not a threat to you, I have no choice. I'm not a threat to you, I have no choice. And it's like, well, what?
There is so much around this. There's such a need, and it really does feel like a need, an energy of neediness to defend that you are helpless at some point. And it's like, and all what Alan and I are inviting people to. So if you're having that, if you're finding yourself having resistance or some charge around what we're talking about, so first of all, would you be willing to take a breath? and could you be in allowance for the next, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, or 20 seconds even, that something else is possible with regard to the choices you've made and the choices you're making. And you chose to be listening to this as well. So what information are you now requiring or desiring to be brought into your cognitive awareness, into your cognitive knowing, that will allow you or empower you to change what you desire to change in your life? So there's that. And there's a very interesting energy around the needing to believe that we are not that powerful, that we are not the master creator of our lives. And the choice seems to be where a lot of it, it's like that pivotal thing that a lot of us do not want to acknowledge. And it's almost like this, we go insane around this particular topic. We will drive ourselves insane to keep ourselves from having our awareness of that, and from actually utilizing that to create our lives different.
Well, I get the awareness, we've kind of bought this lie that to have infinite choice when other people aren't choosing it is an unkindness to them.
There's that. Yeah.
And actually, what if the greatest unkindness is the unwillingness to have infinite choice available to us? What if the greatest kindness is to acknowledge our infinite choice and our capacity to choose?
Yeah.
That is the invitation to people to step into that energy that we just glimpsed. Yeah, let's just have more of that. So, what else is possible with choice that we've never even considered? So, yeah, Keisha, you have such a awesome way of putting that across. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I have so much fun getting to play with you.
Well, we're choosing it, and that's it. Like,
that's what I was just getting. It's like we choose to do what you and I choose to do. And I know that you also work with Tamara, you work with some other facilitators and amazing creators. And it's wow. So there's like a few, we're like lots of cars driving in all different directions. Yeah, like, okay. So one of the questions that came up is, as you were saying that, was, could we be willing? Are you willing to allow for the possibility that you could choose to change your life without creating the pressure chamber or the pressure cooker? Would you be willing to choose before it gets to the point that you want to put your fist through the wall, or that you're trying to get out of the way of someone else's fist.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because I just get this kind of awareness between the difference between intensity and pressure.
Great distinction.
Yeah, where do you? What's your awareness around the?
I kind of get that when we're not willing to acknowledge. I'm hearing it.
Are you?
Okay, cool. It's really it kind of throws me.
Let's change that.
Yeah, let's take it. So when you're not willing the way we often identify intensity is as a pressure. And we want to often go to that place trying to get away from, rather than this is intensity. Oh, is my body trying? Do I need additional? Do I require something different here? And so that between intensity and pressure, intensity can be perceived as pressure, or is often identified as pressure, rather than us allowing ourselves to explore into the intent. Because when our bodies, a lot of us, including long time, we kind of freak out because we start to feel what we call pain. We start to make choices differently, and we'll start to square a little faster. And it just seems like we have ourselves to get to that. Let's create a pressure before we will choose to actually change, bringing up that intensity.
And yeah, I get that. It's like we've decided that the only way it can get intense enough for us to choose is to make it uncomfortable and painful. And we've kind of intrinsically linked intensity with pain, so that or discomfort and pain and stress and displeasure with intensity. And intensity is those moments where, you know, I know when I'm coaching someone and there's just something that I really would love for them to kind of get. It's like, and the intensity of the words is boom. And it's a real, you really need to get this. If you want this to change, this is what you need to get. And it's up to you whether you choose it, but here it is. And so, for example, I'm going to the Energetic Synthesis of Being class with Dr. Dane here this weekend, and I am just so stoked that I chose it. I kind of were playing, and I kind of said that I would go, which is not kind of quite choosing it. It's like saying, oh, well, how often do we pretend to choose? And we tell people we're choosing, but it didn't work out. If we chosen it would have worked out. And on Sunday, I'm just sat there in the morning going, do you know what? I don't care what it takes. I am going to this class. And there's and I can feel it again now. There's this real, I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it takes. If I have to stand outside the door and pretend to be in the class so I can hear it, it's like, I am going to be at that class. If I have to, and I actually put this in an email to someone, if I have to stand at King's Cross Station and give blowjobs for money, I am going to this class. And, well, yeah, maybe I could do that anyway. Yeah, exactly. I could do that for another class. So, I was asking just very gentle questions all day. So what would it take for this to happen, and blah, 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 and what magic, and just these just very simple questions without expectation about what would show up. And I got a phone call from following the energy, and that's what it was. I was choosing this class. It's like, I'm just going to follow the energy of this. And I sent an email to someone and ended up getting, a possibility for getting on this class to help host it. And I'm like, oh, wow. And that happened literally as I was talking to my partner about it, going, okay, well, I just need this amount of money and I'm done. And he's going, oh, well, you know, I can lend that to you. And then as he was having that conversation with me, then came the call offering me to kind of help host it. So it's like, that's what it felt like. It was intense. It wasn't painful. It was not painful, but it was, I am a juggernaut trade and there is nothing that's going to fucking stop me.
Yeah.
It's like, and I feel my face set. I know when I get intense. It's like, no, this is not happening, or this is happening. This is happening. This is happening now. And you know, not all choices are going to feel like that, but the intense energy behind it is.
And what was allowed that to be more of an rather than something. It's just like you said. If you had interpreted that as wrongness or wrong or not chosen to ask, and then follow. Yeah, look at having this amazing energy right now.
Yeah, it's yes, I will acknowledge it, and that makes my head spin as I do that and go, right, okay, so what if I don't have to get, so this is for everyone listening as well, what if you don't have to get angry or stressed or ill or about to lose your home before you go, enough? You know those moments, we've all had them, where we just get to that point going, no fucking way, no. And like, no. Boom. And what if we can use that to our advantage? Gary will talk about times where he's done that, and he's moved cars so that Dane didn't get hit by a car.
Yeah.
That's the intensity of choice. He was not choosing. He chose to move that car so that his friend didn't get. Someone's put a question in saying, your echo is so intense, is it possible for you to hang up and re-enter? So
unless you mute while I'm talking, that.
So what if you put your earbuds in? Would that make a difference, do you think?
I put my headphone on.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Let's try that. Thank you, Wendy, for letting us know. And I'm sorry that it's intense. It's funny how we're talking about intensity. So, and it's nice to know that somebody's watching. You. How did we get so lucky? So let's just see where we're at with this. See if it makes a difference. She's just muted at the moment. So you just got gorgeous me. Aren't you lucky? How did you get so lucky just to have me, just to have me gossiping along about choice? So while she's sorting herself out there, I just want to say something that kind of came to me as we were talking earlier on was around availability of choices, and I think I alluded to it earlier on in terms of choices that are available to me may not be available to you, and choices you have available to you may not be available to me, because it's all about what you're willing to receive, what you are willing to choose, and all of that stuff. So whose menu of choices are you creating your life by? Yours or someone else's? Because as an infinite being with infinite choice, is there a limitation to what you can actually choose? So, just ask that question next time you're looking at where you're at and whether you're stuck or whatever. Whose menu of choices are you functioning from? Yours or someone or something else's? And what if you could step out of that? That's almost a bit like, you love Chinese food, but you keep going into an Indian restaurant to try and choose Chinese food, and you may get rice, and that's kind of okay. It's like, well, it's rice. It's kind of not quite the rice that I wanted, but it's rice. And then there's chicken, and that's kind of okay because, I can kind of eat chicken, but it's not quite the Chinese chicken that I wanted. It's because you're in the wrong bloody restaurant. You're trying to choose from the wrong, or from a different menu. And yeah, what would it take for you to step into the awareness that infinite choice is available to you, and really play with what that means for you? Infinite choice. You want to go out, you want to buy some green cups. So do you want china? Do you want metal? Do you want porcelain? You know, what kind of choices, what kind of cups do you want? So you have infinite choice of cups. Do you want to buy cups? Do you want to make cups? Do you want someone to give you cups? How do they show up? So I think she's almost back with us. You're back with us. Woohoo!
Yay!
So
I think the echo comes from your speaker, however. You might have to put your earbuds in.
Oh, am I? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Because I have mine.
Let me see if I can. Let me entertain you.
The joys of technology.
Let's see if this this works. Can you hear me now? Can everyone hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I think you're still through the. Yeah. Now you may have to call back in. Or can you mute yourself while I'm talking? Yeah, let's try that. Can you hear me when you're muted? Yeah. Okay. So we'll just have to do an interesting sort of muting thing. And then I can't hear you when you're muted. So okay. You were actually in the middle of saying something though, so you can. I didn't want to cut you off from what you were talking about, so I'll wait to say something brilliant until you finish talking about what you were saying, Alan.
So yeah, I don't know. Since this computer upgraded to a new system, it kind of goes. I can't get it to switch from speaker to headphones. It comes through both.
Yeah, that's why I had to call back in. But I think if we lose you, it stops the hangout.
Yeah, that's true.
So we don't want to do that.
No. I'm just trying to see if there's another way of doing it. Oh well.
Yeah, I looked at the settings, but I didn't see a feature that allowed me to change that manually.
Oh, there we go. How's that?
That's better.
That's better.
That's more better.
Awesome. This is so awesome.
We're learning as we go. I love it.
So,
adaptability.
As Yonker would say, in life is unfuck-upable.
Unfuck-upable. I love that.
There it is with choice, isn't it? How many choices we refuse to make because we don't want to get them wrong? What if choice is unfuck-upable? What if choice is unfuck-upable?
No wrong choice.
No, there are no wrong choices. So everywhere you've bought that there is a wrong choice. Do you want to let go of that now?
Yes, please. So, Alan, I know that we're coming up to our hour, and we want to honor that.
Thanks, Wendy.
Yes, thank you, Wendy. And I apologize for blasting people's eardrums. So thank you for choosing to stay with us. Those of you who are listening now and in the future. So it might be a good point for us to talk about a series we have coming up.
Yes.
And it actually starts with choosing, the topic of choosing. So it's called Choosing, Receiving, and Being. And it is a 3-call series that will be held in October. And we will have the Facebook event up at the end of today. So by the time anyone is listening to the replay of this, you should just be able to click over and see that information in Facebook. And of course, if it's after October and you're listening to this, the call will have already happened. So, just so we're clear. So Alan and I would like to invite you. We actually are inviting you to come and have these 3 calls with us. And we really desire to be exploring more into what is this way that we create. And so we're going to be playing with some dynamic tools to create change as well as to create your life by and with. And what would it be like if choosing, receiving, and being did not require really any difficulty, any thought, any justification? What if you never had to prove or justify your being here? what would that be like? It's kind of yummy for me.
Yeah.
And part of this is Alan and I have recently been choosing different for ourselves. And it looks very different even from what other people in similar circles are choosing. And that's part of what we both really appreciate about this process. And even with the series that we're doing, Choosing Beyond Beyond, it's really about being an invitation and being willing to choose beyond where we've played before. So with choosing, receiving, and being, we would like to play even bigger and even more with the different ways that we bring our uniqueness to the process of existence, to the process of creation. And really what we're creating is us. Each of us is creating us and our life and our the story, the picture, and it's that never ending. It's that limitless and never ending adventure. So we will have the information up, and it will be on the Choosing Beyond Beyond page. So we'll put the event on that page, as well as we'll be doing some promotional announcements for that too. And I think perhaps, Alan, tell folks about how they can play a little bit more with you as well. You have a fabulous radio show, which we have mentioned, but I don't think we mentioned the name of it or when it's on.
So we have the Playground of Possibilities on Mondays, 3 p.m. UK time and 10 a.m. Eastern. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's midnight in Brisbane. So you can work out your time zones from there. I think it's 8 a.m. Pacific. Is that right? No, 7 a.m. Pacific.
7 a.m.
7 a.m. Pacific. So there you go.
Early.
It's very early. So,
and it's a fabulous show.
We have, we do have a lot of fun. We just pre-recorded Monday's show, so if you want to go and listen to that on Monday when it comes, which is all about are you imprisoned by your points of view? Mm-hmm. And we just did one this week on lying. So these, I mean, our shows, we have a lot of fun in them, and some of them just sometimes just really ping dynamically more than others. And these two that we've done recently, the lying show, is lying your drug of choice, and are you imprisoned by your points of view? Yeah, there's some pretty awesome stuff in there, and awareness and stuff that can help you change. So, create change in your life. So that's kind of where I play with Tamara Yonker. And, my website is on my little kind of thing here under here. So if you want to kind of come and have a look at that, I'm always happy to play with new people, coaching, facilitation,
He's
whatever.
Brilliant. He's brilliant. Don't let him fool you. He's brilliant.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, I am awesome. And, the thing is, so is everybody who comes to me. And, But my strapline on a lot of the stuff that I produce is I empower people to acknowledge their awesomeness and embrace it. So what would happen to you, what would happen in your life if you were to acknowledge just how awesome you are? And one of the reasons why I choose to do this stuff with Keisha, and it is a choice. I don't have to sit here and talk to this kind of strange bird from America. She has such an infinite capacity to just perceive beyond, which is one of the reasons why we chose those words, because I love the way she just is just so willing to be curious and go, okay, so what is that? And with no expectation, no point of view. So
Thank
we get
you,
you're so welcome. And and as far as I'm aware, you can get coaching and facilitation from Keisha too.
Oh, yes, that is available. Actually, the choices have not been posted to the website, but they are almost there. So I have a thing about presentation, but I'm getting over that. So I didn't hear an egg timer, did I?
Yeah, you're done. That's it.
So, and you can also play with me on Fridays on A2Zen. We're both with the same network. The number 2, ZEN FM, and we have a fabulous feature. Oh, sorry, my show is Living Well. It's on Friday mornings. It airs live on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, which is approximately 1 a.m. in Brisbane. But we luckily have replays on demand as well, so you can also visit our archive pages on the A to Zen .fm website. And wow. You can also find me at livingwell.com, and it's LIVINGWEAL. And yes, there is a little bit of a story about that and the way I pronounce it. You can also listen to the first show and you'll hear that. And and so there's other ways to play with us. Those will be listed on both of our websites. And we may start what if we started posting a little bit more to our Choosing Beyond page as well, Alan? Just events and things, make sure that that's another way for people to stay in touch. And of course, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Very likely where they'll be watching this. So you'll get all of the videos, you'll get updates, you'll get emails or notices, and we will try not to flood your inbox with ridiculousness. So the call series we'll be offering, it starts on October 6th, and it'll be 3 calls, the 6th, the 13th, and the 20th. And so we'll get the information up, check it out, and hopefully we'll see lots of you on the call. We'll give you the call-in details when you register. And wow, what else is truly possible with choosing, receiving, and being beyond, way beyond where we've ever been and what we've ever chosen and what we've been willing to receive.
And I just want to add something to those people who are listening as well. I love the fact that if you choose these calls, that you will get something from it. Because that's why we're doing it. We would love to be a contribution to you, and you're choosing, receiving, and being. Choosing and receiving and being for you. And I just want to invite you as well, if you choose these calls, to just acknowledge your awesomeness, that you will be contributing to these calls, because it's your choices, your receiving, your being, your questions, you taking part in these calls that will actually be an awesome contribution to everyone else. Not just those on the call, but like everyone linked to the 10th degree of everyone taking part in that call. Because if you think that by you choosing something different or questioning or changing you and your life doesn't affect those around you, that's where you might want to start looking. Because I've been doing a telecall series with Tamara Juncker about radical relationship, and my partner hasn't been a part of those calls at all, but he's changing. I don't really talk to him about what happens on the calls, but he's choosing different stuff because my energy is changing and being an invitation for something different. So by you choosing, there we go.
Keep going.
So you choosing more for you and being the invitation that you be and the awesomeness that you be is contributing to so many people around you, whether they acknowledge it, whether it's obvious, whether they do the same calls as you or not. So, if you choose it, thank you for choosing it, and thank you if you don't choose it for choosing what works for you.
Yeah. And wow, as you were talking, it's like that really, when we look at what the dickens is choice, what if choice is anything you're willing to let it be? Choice is change. Choice is creation. Choice is shifting. Choice is inviting. Choice is, what is choice for you? And as Alan was talking about, part of where I think some of this resistance may possibly come from for us to actually be in the choice is all of these things that have been made up about what happens if we choose, what will happen to other people. And we did allude to this earlier in the conversation. And I just want to really, for some reason, I would like to bring that point back up. It's like, what if you being willing to choose actually creates something so much greater instead of making a mess? And it may look like a mess for a few minutes, relatively speaking. And what if that's just part of that transition that is required so that you can actually get to something that is really works for you, that really works even more for you than what you've been willing to have before. This is really all about choosing for you. And go.
And what if you choosing for you what's fun, phenomenal, and rewarding, and expansive, and delicious, and yummy, and whatever else you want for choice? What if you choosing that for you unveils other choices that could be available, that are available to other people? When people look at you and go, wow, I didn't even know I could choose that. I didn't even know that choice was possible, let alone available.
And that is part of the beyond we would like to play in. And that's part of where we would like to go with the series and with all of our conversations. Really, if you haven't heard us talk about what got us to choosing beyond, is really about going to that place beyond where we stop ourselves, where we create disbelief or shock, or the thing that is like the set point that we won't go past. It's like, what is it going to take to choose beyond that set point that isn't even real in the first place? And would you be willing to know that? And Alan and I have been in the trenches and still find ourselves in those trenches from time to time. And yes, when you're willing to choose more, you don't fall into those trenches as frequently.
And you get out a lot quicker.
Exactly. When you do, you see it so different. It's not like the world is caving in on you. It's more of, oh, I tripped and fell, and wow, what else is possible now? I think I'll get back up. How about that? What if I choose this? Oh, well, this changes that. Okay, I'm choosing that. And so it's really being present for you. And from that, the way that ripples out into the universe is amazing. And I know that this is something that's said frequently, and you get it when you get it. You hear it when you're ready to hear it. You choose it when you're ready to choose it. And so whatever you're choosing, even if it's choosing to have 15 minutes just for you with a cup of something today, would you be willing to acknowledge choosing for you? And would you be willing to actually make that choice? And what if that's beyond where you've been willing to go before? And that's a beginning. So anything else, Mr. Amazing Alan, before we sign off?
Not at the moment. Not kind of there. I just basking in this space, this energy of where we're at right now, and then the beautiful words you just used are just such an invitation. So thank you everyone for joining. We are now and in the future. We are so grateful.
And keep choosing beyond.
Yeah.
Just choose. Let choice be for you. What it bees for you.
I'm going to choose another glass of wine. So see you all again soon.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.